U.S. farmers face a number of challenges each year. If it's not insects, it's the weather. If it's not the weather, it's disease. Well, soybean rust is a plant disease that arrived in the country because of the weather.
The disease blew up on the winds of Hurricane Ivan back in the fall of 2004. And at that time, we detected it in 11 states in the southeast.
Dr. Ed Sikora is more or less a troubleshooter for farmers. He goes looking for trouble, then develops ways for growers to combat possible problems. He says soybean rust has the potential to devastate the U.S. soybean crop.
Prior to arriving in the United States, we had heard reports of up to 100% yield loss in places like the Philippines and South America, like Brazil and Argentina. So it was a real concern to us. But what we've seen in the U.S., we've seen up to 40% yield loss in small fungicide trials down in South Alabama. But we haven't seen the extent, the damage that they have seen in other parts of the world.
Sikora says soybean rust can't be prevented, but it can be controlled by early detection. He and researchers from 11 other states, from Texas and Oklahoma to the East Coast, have developed a vast network of sentinel plots to locate the disease when it first begins to appear.
We try and plant small plots of soybeans about 100 feet long, wide, in these areas, and we plant about 1 to 2 weeks before the commercial planting would be planted in that area. And then we have people monitor these plots, regional extension agents, myself, some of the local people here, on a weekly basis. We collect about 100 leaves per sample, and then we monitor the leaves, look at the leaves with a microscope, looking for the early signs, the early pustules of soybean rust. And it's a very effective, efficient way of looking for the disease and catching it early versus just wandering through a field.
With early detection being the key, the soybean rust will appear on the test plots before the main crop is susceptible. But as important as spraying is to controlling disease, not spraying is equally important to controlling ever-increasing input costs.
When we first set up the sentinel plot system, and this was a nationwide program, we thought we would be saving growers money by telling them when to spray for the disease. But as it turned out, because the disease did not spread as rapidly as we thought, instead we were able to tell growers not to spray and to save money on a fungicide application, basically save application costs. So in Alabama, we estimate we've saved over $3 million in certain years by telling people not to spray because the disease wasn't there or wasn't a threat. And nationwide, since 2005, we've saved over $300 million due to this monitoring program.
Alabama is not a big producer of soybeans compared to many other states. But the system that's in place here to detect soybean rust is critical to the success of the crop throughout the country.
Typically, the disease will overwinter in Alabama, as I mentioned, on protected kudzu sites along the Gulf Coast and Mobile. I mean, we have 75 million acres of soybeans in the United States, and a lot of it is in the north-central region. But all those eyes are focused on Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, because they know soybean rust, if it's going to come, it's going to come from the south.
Sikora says there have been a few reports of soybean rust on kudzu patches in Louisiana and Florida, but none here in Alabama. But he says growers still need to watch their crops closely because the weather could easily change to create conditions ideal for a devastating outbreak.
If we have a mild winter followed by a mild spring with some moisture, this disease could really take off and can do a lot of damage in a short period of time. So don't let your guard down. That's the thing. Keep an eye to the south to see what's going on.
Most of the funding for the monitoring system comes from producer-funded checkoff programs through the Alabama Soybean Producers and the United Soybean Board. Farmers interested in more information about the current condition of soybean rust in the U.S. can visit www.sbrusa.net. In Auburn, Alabama, this is Kevin Worthington for Time Well Spent.